Nice web, Mr. Crack Spider.
C, the active ingredient in marijuana.
Nice web,
THC,
Mr. Crack Spider.
the active ingredient in marijuana.
Crack Spider. Nice spider's behavior was. The web structure was not affected, but the spider's behavior was. The spider's behavior was. The web structure was not affected.
It built a hammock. The spider didn't build a web. It built a hammock. The spider didn't build a web. It built a hammock. The spider didn't build a web. It built a hammock.
The spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the
It
web.
built a hammock.
The spider can't go within 100 centimeters of
It
the
built a
web.
hammock. It built a hammock.
Cane spider, the crack cocaine spider, the crack cocaine spider, the cane spider, the crack.
It built a hammock.
The spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the web. The spider built a web, found a mate, and raised over 100 young. But the mate got a restraining order, and now the spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the web. The spider built a web, found a mate, and raised over
It built a hammock. It built
the cat in its ass. Then came up behind it and popped the cat in its ass. The crack cocaine spider figured building webs was for suckers. Waited till the cat in its ass was exhausted. Then came up behind it and popped the cat in its ass. The cat in its ass. Then came up behind it and popped the cat in its ass. The cat in its ass. Then came up behind it until the caffeine spider was exhausted. The crack cocaine spider figured building webs. The crack cocaine spider figured building webs was for suckers.
Dude,
The cat in its ass.
Nice web, Mr. Crack Spider.
The marijuana spider
The litter
had no place to
in
live.
the marijuana.
It ended up
we're live.
It ended up crack spider. As the crack spider.
We are live.
Marijuana spider
We are live.
Absolutely live.
Hello, David
As the
Bartsky.
crack spider's bit.
Hello, Gordy Two Shoes.
Alan
You
Marcus.
had a nice little blip in there.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the blip.
Guys, I was in the
appreciate-
Biffy.
Appreciate.
Right. The Biffy.
We all use
We all
the
learned
Biffy.
this. We all
We all
learned a
use
new
the
word.
Biffy.
We did. What is a biffy? It's a good question.
Yeah. What's the Biffy?
It's how you empty your bowels in a jiffy because you gotta get back to work.
Got it. That's beautiful. That's hot, actually. But
That's kind of hot.
we can move on from there. So, yep, it's 11. We're almost on time. We had a bunch of issues. What's new? A bunch of issues is new.
Dude,
That's
you
not
know what
new.
happened this morning?
What happened?
There was
An eclipse of the heart?
a total eclipse.
Total eclipse of the heart.
Total
I hear.
eclipse.
Now, what misinformation was going around? Now, we know it was a super flower blood moon.
Right.
Also, everybody in the chat, I'm going to say what's up. Just to say what's up. So, that's that. Make sure audio's good because we've had a number of audio issues this evening, but that's okay. And we're going to be out of here, hard out at midnight Central Time. So that's 1 a.m. Eastern. 10, right? 10 Pacific?
10 o'clock.
10
But
Pac.
yeah, I guess we're Pacific right now.
So we're just talking to ourselves in the chat right now, but that's fun.
We're like Utah time, like Utah mountain time.
Mountain time? No,
Are we?
Arizona, no.
No, Arizona does not change time zones.
That's because it's got a
We're
brain.
the only ones that don't because we're,
Smart.
we're cool. And the
So
rest of you aren't.
if we're meeting in Utah for the operation,
Oh, that's
are,
right.
are we going to arrive on time?
Why not?
We need to synchronize our swimming.
We do. But a few bits of news. Don't we have news? Did Marilyn Manson get arrested yet? Did he? Or
Did he actually get arrested?
I don't know. I'm honest. I guess we could look it up and find out. But
So the deal with that is Twitter decides to tell us that there's still an open arrest warrant from New Hampshire.
this is correct.
New Hampshire.
So yeah,
Right.
we've got it right here. So
Mhm.
let's just do Marilyn Manson.
Why is Twitter reminding us of Marilyn Manson when he was on the Twins of Evil tour with Rob
Rob
Zombie?
There's a million different directions to go with this. Oh man. But
And he spits venom.
yeah. So go ahead.
What?
Yeah, he
What?
spat at somebody apparently in 2019. That's what I read. I mean, there's multiple things here. Like,
Oh, there was a spat
So let's look at what NME
with a
said about this.
videographer who was getting real close to Manson on the Twins of Evil tour.
So
And that was in 2019.
yeah, I don't understand why they come
the arrest warrant has been out for almost 2 years now.
and now they're just reporting on it. Yeah, it's been almost.
They're
2
reminding
years.
us it's still active.
And it's New
So-
Hampshire. I found that funny.
Right, because there was another arrest in that area about an hour away.
Delane, Ghislaine.
Ghislaine
Did they get
Max
her?
Bad. Do we call her
Did-
Max Bad?
Did they
She's-
take her? Because I called
Yeah,
that, man.
They took her last year, but she's apparently awaiting trial. I think in July.
Oh,
So next
they
month
didn't-
or 2 month and a half away. Yeah.
so it's just making news.
Why was it making news? It's not news. It's
Yeah,
old news.
It's not news.
But
Like
they're bringing it up again.
she's
Right.
popping up all over the place.
So
too.
here, I'll narrate this. Marilyn Manson is the subject of an arrest warrant issued in New Hampshire for 2 counts of a Class A misdemeanor. Simple, like why even? Okay, a Class A misdemeanor. Why are you broadcasting that all over? Like, I don't understand that. But anyway, the Guilford Police Department alleged Manson, real name Brian Hugh Warner, assaulted a videographer during a concert he performed at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion on August 18, 2019. Per a statement from Guilford Police, the videographer had been hired to film the concert and was located in the stage pit area of the venue when the alleged assaults now took place. Police alleged Manson, his agent, and legal counsel, quote, have been aware of the warrant for some time, but the musician has not returned to New Hampshire to face the charges. If found guilty, he could face less than a year in prison and a fine of $2,000 or less. What is the... Okay, so this is my... Okay, and then we got another quote here. The alleged assaults are not sexual in nature, as has been asked by several other media outlets due to a number of other allegations made against Mr. Warner, end quote. And that's from Guilford Police in a statement released yesterday. So...
Yes, and the arrest warrant was issued on October 8th of 2019.
Do you want to tell us the significance of that? Because I don't know. Do you have
10-8.
10-8?
10-8. I don't know.
Okay.
But
Just putting it out there.
there's a Bank of New Hampshire pavilion and the amphitheater there with 8,000 people playing a show with Rob Zombie and the Twins of Evil on August 18th. So again, there's another 18, 10-8,
10-8, yep.
and then August 18th was 8-18.
There you go.
And it says, it is no secret to anyone who has attended a Marilyn Manson concert that he likes to be provocative on stage, especially in front of a camera. This misdemeanor claim was pursued after we received a demand from a venue videographer for more than $35,000 after a small amount of spit came into contact with their arm. After we asked for evidence of any alleged damages, we never received a reply. This whole claim is ridiculous, but we remain committed to cooperating with authorities as we have done throughout. That's a statement from King,
That's
Brian
the
Hugh Warner's manager.
So, okay. So this is still super vague. I don't see anything. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Why drop that news right then? So, sleight of hand, weird, something going on. Who knows?
So Marilyn Manson doesn't show up for a pending charge, and now it's news again on the night of the supermoon.
the super flower blood moon at
Mm,
that. So
yeah.
who knows? Maybe we can report back on this one because it's just super random, super odd.
Right. And also remember about a year ago, Manson suggested that he'd like to sing a Judy Garland classic song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, with Brandy Carlisle. Brandy Carlisle has worked with Shooter Jennings, and Shooter Jennings has produced the Marilyn Manson album that just released.
Did he really?
Who
produce
worked with
that?
Frank Zappa?
Shooter
Mhm.
Jennings, of course, being the son of
Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings.
yes, who was a truck driver and transported Big Bird.
Wait, did I see? Oh, I gotta shoot myself for that. Did I see Merle Haggard? And I believe
Did you
No.
see Merle Haggard?
I saw Ray Price, Willie Nelson. Oh man, it was like I'm pretty sure. All right, now I got to find out what year. If anybody knows what year Merle
What
Haggard
what
passed.
what tour did Waylon Jennings go on with Big Bird? The
he on
Sesame
Sesame
Street
Street?
tour. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was Merle Haggard. I saw them with Merle Haggard because that's right, 2016. Merle Haggard passed away. So yeah, it was Merle. I know I sound awful. Oh, I can't remember if it was Merle Haggard.
Dude,
Um,
I was joking about the Frank Zappa thing, but I'm pretty sure that Merle Haggard did stuff with Frank Zappa.
Oh, absolutely. He did shit
Like
with
it-
everybody.
Everybody worked
Like,
with
was
Frank
on-
Zappa,
like
man.
cocaine, LSD,
And he was on. He
the
was on.
alcohols.
Merle Haggard was on like Epitaph. Like he was on.
He was on Epitaph, really?
On Anti Records. You know,
Really?
like that's it's a subsidiary. It's Tom Waits. You know,
Yeah.
because I remember Mule Variations came out late on Anti, which was a subsidiary. So they were going like not alt country, but like outlaw country and just like 4AD type shit.
When Hank III started getting
Hank 3. I smoked a joint with him behind
Hanky
the Barrymore Theater in Madison after seeing him open for Reverend Horton Heat.
I was just gonna say with Reverend Horton Heat, dude.
Yep. It was his first tour, like his first record, first tour, like major tour. We ended up talking about Buzz Oven, the band Buzz Oven, like some. He's like, I love that.
So the last time I saw Red
crusty.
Heat, was here in Tucson. Junior Brown opened for him, dude. That guy
Seen Junior Brown. Yep,
is amazing. I
Million
love that
times.
guy.
He's great. Junior Brown he's super sweet too.
Yeah, he's really good, dude.
Shout out to Shank Hall in Milwaukee. I don't even know if that club's even going to be open again. It's a really random club. Always bring in acts like that, and then all of a sudden, like Big Business and the Melvins would be playing there. You'd be like, what? Like Buzzo would always want to come through there.
And then like the Flecktones the next night or something.
Yeah, it was
Was it
one
one
of
of those
Junior
there?
Brown. Every time Junior Brown would come through there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Love those
It's a
clubs.
weird club. Had carpeting. Saw Shiner there
Did they
Shiner-
have carpeting
Oh,
on the
2018.
walls?
at Shank Hall. It's actually a joke. I mean, it's in Spinal Tap, and that's where it came from.
Shag carpeting on the walls
No, Shank with a K.
with a K.
It's really in Spinal Tap?
SHANK. Yeah, it's a joke in Spinal Tap. We're playing Shank Hall in Milwaukee, and they opened the
Oh,
club, like,
yeah.
a couple years later. Yeah.
Did you guys see Spinal Tap 2?
Is there a
What?
Spinal Tap too?
Yeah, there's a sequel to Spinal Tap.
No.
Is it really?
Yeah, there is. I have it on VHS.
What's it called?
I
Wait a minute.
You're gonna,
What up,
you're gonna
Ben?
Send him.
Ben Krupa's in the chat. What's up,
Hey,
buddy?
Ben.
Good to see you. We're dropping in on a random Wednesday. I had to look at what day it was.
it's called The Return of Spinal Tap.
Really?
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
Return of Spinal Tap. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I did see that.
Spoinal? Dude, I don't
But
remember. What
Spinal
year?
Tap 2 is due for release in 2022. So apparently they're ignoring the true sequel and making a new sequel.
Interesting.
Isn't the Return of Spinal Tap a live show, though?
that
Well,
sounds right. That feels right.
that's
actually.
rock and roll. That's
Yeah.
what we do here. We do
looks like a
this
hit.
live. We
So-
do this live.
So who is our drummer that chokes on vomit?
the gym.
Maybe that'll be my out. I'll have some
There you go.
story about if we don't know whose vomit.
So yeah, right. So
You can't dust for prints on vomit.
So do we want to tell the
You'll have
audience
Derek
what,
Smalls, dude. Derek Smalls.
what happened before the show started?
What was a disaster?
The Candyman stopped by and said, "Here, try this."
Oh yeah. I have some over there. I'm saving it for when my homie comes back to town next week. Shout out. What up, Matera? Yeah, so we're gonna talk about this Operation Delirium,
Yeah.
which is in relation to Project Dork. Nobody's really talked about this. Granted, there's a lot of like tentacles that touch a lot of different areas that we've all covered and dove pretty deep on, I'd say, especially with like chemical warfare, MK Ultra type shit. But this is a whole nother mess. Nobody really talks about this. I mean, Robert Guffey, what up, buddy? Was kind enough to kind of shoot this at me via email to look into. So yeah, we thought we'd take a little bit of a shorter deep dive into this and break it up into a couple parts and discuss it. So Operation Delirium, we've got this is a mess, man. James Ketchum cat. He grosses me out.
Yeah.
But then, granted, now this was a New Yorker article from just obviously December 9, 2012. So this is an older article. So we're just going to cover a couple of the parts here because this is a super, super long. This is huge.
James S. Ketchum also wrote a book, and it was self-published in 2006. Chemical Warfare: Secrets Almost Forgotten, a personal story of medical testing of Army volunteers with incapacitating chemical agents during the Cold War, 1955 to 1975, by James S. Ketchum,
I think
MD, with a foreword by Alexander Shulgin,
Who
PhD.
is the guy who's known for creating MDMA or ecstasy? Shulgin. So that's even
Shulgin.
more fun. There's a lot of fun connections here.
Who also played with Frank Zappa.
There you go. At Burning Man.
At right. 1978.
Right. At Shank Hall.
Shank Hall, right.
And then
Alexander, do you know what his middle name is?
No. What is it?
Sasha.
That's pretty
Alexander Sasha Shulgin,
hot.
whose work we will discuss later in this book, was and remains the psychochemical genius who first described the subjective effects of dozens of mind-altering drugs, including ecstasy, in quotes,
There you go.
MDMA.
So, yeah, Shulgin, these two, Ketchum and Shulgin had issues with obviously the way things were being done and the way he was doing things, Ketchum, because he seems very unrepentant, at least the beginning of all this. Granted, he was 81 back in 2012, so that would make him, there's no way he's still alive. I didn't even bother to look.
Well, he's still unrepentant, though.
Yeah,
Like his last quote where he regrets it, but he regrets how they did it. He doesn't regret actually fucking people's lives up and ruining them.
Dude, positively ruining so many lives. Now, this ties into Dugway Proving Grounds. This ties into a lot of different... I think the tentacles are so slimy and everywhere, just touching everything. But we just thought, with modern trials, if you will, going on currently, mass trials, we thought maybe this would be a fun topic to dig into,
So the only reason that we know about this is that one journalist got a FOIA request, actually answered, right?
I believe so.
But
yeah,
Was
Go
the
ahead.
FOIA request before 2006 when he self-published?
Right. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know that for sure. What I saw was just that it was from a FOIA request. I don't think it was from this article. It was something else.
Okay.
But this guy had gotten an answer on his FOIA request about Ketchum and this operation on several of these operations. But that's the only reason we know about this. And they've learned from this experience that how they've fucked this up so royally and didn't give a shit about what they did to these people. But they've learned that, oh, if we privatize it, then there's no FOIA requests. Then we can't do anything about it. So anything else,
it's all open season, fair game on every. I mean, basically, anybody in the military knows. When you sign up for it, you sign. Well, right once you go into basic training, you basically sign your life away, obviously. But I mean, we've heard anecdotal evidence, if you will, of certain servicemen basically refusing inoculations and things of that sort. So
yeah, I don't know that they have a choice.
Yeah, I don't think they do, because I mean, you do dishonorable discharge, I would think, or
they just do it. Like, I mean, what are they going to do? Run? And go AWOL? They're not going to do that.
You're going to get called. You're going to get called names if you don't. They're going to say, "Hey, what are ya? What are ya?
What do you want to kill your grandpa? What do you want to?
Come on.
You want to kill your family?
Don't you love your country?"
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that.
And so this is how they get you doing it in the private sector as well. Don't you love your country? It's a whole culture thing. In fact, the place I worked at was called a cult because of the culture in that place of, if you didn't go along with the party line, man, you were outcast quick.
Right.
And you were pressured hard. But then they do this sweet talking where you're a hero all of a sudden because of this important work that you're doing. And
we need boots on the ground. We need men. We need boots on the ground. You won't even have to shoot a bullet because we found a way to do warfare without guns and bullets.
Yeah, that's just in the military part, though. Like they do this exact thing in the private sector with military contractors all the time.
Exactly.
And they make you feel important, have you sign up on this. We've got this special project for you. You're going to be so good at this. Oh my God, you're amazing. And you're saving the country by doing this.
Just ego stroking.
Yeah, total ego stroking. You're like, God damn, I am important. Sign me up.
I'm here to save everything.
I'm going to save it all, man.
Yeah. So this is funny. So it's not funny, but Ketchum, an unreconstructed advocate of chemical warfare, believes that people who fear gaseous weapons more than guns and mortars are irrational. He cites approvingly the Russian government's decision in 2002 to flood a theater in Moscow with a potent, incapacitating drug when Chechen guerrillas seized the building and took 800 theater goers hostage. The gas debilitated the hostage takers, allowing special forces to sweep in and kill them. But many innocent people died, too. Quote, it's been looked at by some skeptics as a kind of tragedy. Where's that? It's been looked at by some skeptics. Like, we're irrational, total creeps. Ketchum has said, they say...
I'm surprised they didn't say conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, right.
Ooh.
They say, I love it. Yeah, right. They say, look, 130 people died. Well, I think that 130 is better than 800, and it's also better as a secondary consideration not to have to blow up a beautiful theater. End quote.
Gotta say those beautiful theaters, man.
Bullets and shrapnel are terrible. Ketchum believes that chemicals are more humane instruments of warfare.
It's a more civilized warfare.
We don't destroy buildings. We don't destroy real estate. We just
not about property damage
to sleep. People just fall asleep.
Right. I mean, this is post '02, post all that. Let's applaud the heroes of Russia. You know. Let's applaud them. That's pre-Putin though, isn't it? I feel like it is.
1976 is when he
No,
left.
2002 when he did this though. This is
Right. So Colonel James Ketchum dreamed of war without killing. He joined the army in 1956 and left 20 years later in
right.
1976.
I'm just saying, quoted from. I'm just curious because I'm wondering if Putin. I think Putin was in power in 2002, because that's when. Sounds right. It feels right because I remember the Chechen them taking the border multiple times. Right? I don't know.
The presidential election was in 2004.
Okay, so this is pre-Putin then. So would it have been Boris Yeltsin? Because before that it was Gorbachev. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, so we get him.
What is time and what is space?
Oh, dude. So let's see. Not long ago, while debating critics of Edgewood on a talk radio show, Ketchum argued that the tests were a sensible response to the threats of the Cold War. Quote, "We were in a very tense confrontation with the Soviet Union, and there was information." These were absolute rumors. I know this for a fact. And there was information that was sometimes accurate, sometimes inaccurate. Okay, so he's acknowledging that they were procuring large amounts of LSD, possibly for use in a military situation, end quote. The experiments, he has said, were no more problematic in their conduct than civilian drug testing at the time. Unreal. Just to pull that apart alone,
He's telling himself a lot of stuff as a psychologist.
It also feels like he's like telling these quotes are literally to the public and to himself. Do you know what I mean? To rationalize and justify this. That's just what it seems like. As
Right,
I'm
he
reading
believes
these
this is important work. The future of war is not with bullets and shrapnel, it's with chemicals.
and here we are, 2021. They're just different forms, but we don't need to tell you that. Was there anything else that popped out to you guys?
Well, we're looking at the article and then we're looking at the book, and the book is dedicated to his loving wife, Judy Ann Schaller Ketchum,
Which
who
is like
helped
his
and
fifth wife.
encouraged him to undertake and complete the book. Does he talk about all of his wives?
No, but in here,
Yeah,
I
weren't
believe,
there like 5?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it says this is all too much fun. So earlier this year, the journalist, I visited Ketchum in Santa Rosa, where he lives with his fifth wife, Judy Ann Ketchum, in a modest one-story house in a quiet suburban enclave. Ketchum answered the door in a beige tracksuit. He has the trim stature of an aging athlete and is tall enough to fill a door frame, but he is not imposing. His temperament is too readily open, his blue eyes too gently inquisitive. Judy, a retired nurse, is a photographer and artist. In the living room, one of her projects, a platinum blonde mannequin dressed in sequins, stands next to an upright piano, which Ketchum plays. Dude, I can't even imagine this. Oh, man.
What a nutball,
For
man.
real, large close-ups of flowers that she has photographed are in every room. The Ketchums are a political hybrid, right-leaning but bohemian, religious
Bohemian.
but not dogmatic, conservative but open to drug use. They sound like fun libertarians to me. I don't know.
Open to using drugs and testing them on wives.
I'm kind of into that. I don't know. How about you?
Did he have 4 wives that overdosed? And the
Yeah,
fifth
they
one,
didn't say what happened to the first 4.
right? They didn't love him enough. They didn't love him. They
Maybe he
left
was
him.
he's just buried in his work or burying his work. Volunteers. Just saying. That's awful.
Burying his work into other volunteers. Is that what you're saying?
Something along those, or yeah.
Into some sweet assistant
There you go.
for his
He's
next
logging
wife.
on to some other woman, some other
Yeah.
bitch's Wi-Fi.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's disgusting how he thinks he's some sort of bohemian literature expert in which he quotes all this pop culture stuff, all these geniuses in his book, and he really tells this story to say, wow, this is important work.
This is important
I'm
research.
I'm a literary genius. I'm patting myself on the back, and you need to know about this in
Well,
my self-published book.
right. Here's a little fun example of this self-aggrandizing, adulating loon. We retreated to a small office to talk. In person, Ketchum projects the image of a man so lost in abstraction that he is easily taken. It probably has something to do with the acid. As we sat down, he said, quote, "I give money to people who never give it back." What the fuck? What kind of a quote is that to like, hey, we just come in this room. By the way, I give money to random people who never pay back.
So he's trying to pose himself as a philanthropist all of a sudden.
Right.
He's
Then
a
he goes,
philanthropist. Is he an art collector? He's got a wife who's an artist.
sounds like a well-rounded individual to me.
Right.
He once gave $20,000 to a German teacher who said that he was starting a charity. The man took the money and vanished. Then Ketchum goes on to say, he used it to go visit a woman, got drunk with her for 4 days. I never got it back. Another swindler took his money for good works in Argentina, which never materialized. Quote, I don't think about that stuff, Ketchum told me. Then why are you bringing it up? And also, it sounds like some Jack Parsons, like,
Yeah.
these LRHs are stumbling into his life, like left and right. Like, yo, can I get like 10 grand to start? Can I write this book? Like, really, really into sci-fi.
Oh, he loves poetry. He loves Robert Frost. He quotes the home stretch. Ends and beginnings, there are no such things. There are only middles.
What?
This dude is a winner.
And he
So we
states
should
chemical
probably-
warfare has its roots in antiquity. So he's not the first guy to do it. And he's giving us a history of it.
So did we make it clear to people just who are not reading this or have read the article that what he did was essentially poison these people, and a bunch of them ended up having bad trips later in life and having Parkinson's and all sorts of terrible things, where even some of them killed themselves?
Absolutely. And not even having just basically taking unwitting servicemen and just dosing the shit out of them. I mean, this is like probably, I'm guessing, writing or self-publishing, I'm speculating right now. But self-publishing that in 2006 had to have been like, I got to get this off my chest, shoulder, whatever, like an albatross sort of situation. But then he's
Or
defending
patting
it.
himself on the back.
While
He's
defending,
patting himself on the back for
while
what he,
patting him, right? And then, which is even more ridiculous, is like how. Okay, so if you think about it, we were thrown when all those MK Ultra documents and all that stuff got released, right? We were thrown Jolyon West. We were thrown Sidney Gottlieb. We were thrown Ian Cameron. We were thrown those three guys pretty much, right, for the front pariahs, right? Okay, so these are the devils behind this whole thing, right? I've got a good, well, clearly Ketchum was one that was kept out of the spotlight. I mean, seems
so
to be
you-
the
are you
case.
saying
Who
that-
probably wanted spotlight. Clearly he wants some spotlight, so he's
well, right, exactly.
he's
they're getting
throwing-
his shine
exactly.
that he's supposed to be getting. Oh, you rat bastards! I'll write
How
my own book.
crazy and sick. Sick. I mean, we think about how diabolical Dr. Cameron's research with the psychic driving and that's just what we know.
These are psychopaths. And I mean, if anybody doesn't believe there's not mad scientists out there that are actually doing crazy chimera shit,
Right.
like that's just naive.
Where is he doing this?
No, I'm
Edgewood.
just saying, oh, this guy?
Yeah. That brings us to Edgewood.
Edgewood.
That's important to note because Sidley Gottlieb is doing this secret LSD program, and our Ketchum is caught from a FOIA request, and then he spills all the beans.
So we're handed we're handed the story, right? That okay, so I'm gonna have to go back, but this is my memory and hoping it serves me correct right now. So we're thrown the MK Ultra story, which was a janitor finding the boxes of documents in a hallway, I think in Baltimore. Well, I think it was at a Bethesda, I feel like, but I could be wrong. Okay, in what 1976 or something like that, from what I recall. This is my memories off the top of my head. I could absolutely probably am wrong, but then the Frank Olson thing dropped, and so that got released. Then the kids of Frank Olson realized, wait a minute, that's our dad who jumped out the window, and they're talking about Sidney Gottlieb going to the retreat.
Wormwood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for those that don't know, you can watch Wormwood and get the easy 8-part, version of what transpired there, or what they think transpired. I can't remember actually. Did they in that documentary / whatever? Did they cite Frank Olson being pushed out the window by the hitman?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't think they explicitly said that. They hinted at it.
Okay.
Like there had to have been somebody else there that was with him.
Yeah, because
he was thrown out. I mean,
he was
thrown
absolutely
out
thrown
of the
out.
window.
Absolutely, because the dude who did it, I mean, had a rap sheet a mile long. I mean, he was also just so happened to be in town at that specific spot. You know what I mean? Like I can't remember if he had signed a. No, why would a hitman or an assassin sign anything in? But he went under a certain amount of names. I know that for a fact. He had like a list of aliases that were super familiar. And then when you go back into the Lee Harvey Oswald shit, it all connects to Lee Harvey Oswald. All of this is just so incestuous.
They all overlap.
Exactly. They all overlap.
And George Bush.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, jeez. So this is just foul.
Sidney Gottlieb's secret experiments were revealed in his obituary in March of 1999.
See, I find that's a red herring too. Like
that's what James S. Ketchum says in his book.
Okay.
So we're wondering how much of what James S. Ketchum says in his book, Chemical Warfare Secrets Almost Forgotten, how much of that is part of the narrative that they are all agreed upon and sharing together.
It's wild. Okay, so we've got rows and rows of binders belonging to his archive towered beside us. The trove, including hundreds of pages of sensitive government documents, was an armamentarium of sorts, which Ketchum had been using to inoculate the arsenal's achievements against obscurity or ill repute, or perhaps just to stir up a little trouble. Lawyers had been arguing over the papers. The CIA had been pressuring him to turn them over. He glanced at the volumes. Quote, "They contain a lot of data with names, doses, graphs of what we did," he said. "That is definitely something the government would not want to spread around," end quote. When Ketchum left the arsenal, the archive left with him. Quote, "It could have been shredded," he told me. "It could have been locked away." Instead, it's just crazy, man. So think about how much is in there. Man. So is his book still available, Alan? Do you know?
If you look for it, it will find you.
Did you find it?
I found it. I'm reading it right now.
Oh, shit.
In the beginning and throughout the duration of my work at Edgewood Arsenal, it was my firm belief that in future conflicts, the skillful use of incapacitating agents might minimize casualties. I was never aware, however, of the CIA's use of LSD on unwitting citizens. And indeed, this did not become widely publicized until 1999, after the death of Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, bless his heart.
What a load of shit, because all this came out like when Gerald Ford was president and the Olsen kids were in the White House. And remember, he was thanking them. Gerald Ford was like, there was a photo op, and Gerald Ford was so grateful that they alerted him to this awful situation and how awful MK Ultra the program was. Shut it down in 73.
Yes.
Gordon, you're
So
muted.
James is telling us that he didn't know. He said during his years at Edgewood, he was completely unaware that the CIA had been quietly carrying out a separate secret program. So this is happening at the same time, overlapping with LSD and other compounds. Only recently, in preparation to testify as an expert witness in a suit allegedly involving the covert administration of LSD to a former deputy U.S. Marshal in 1957, did I take time to read the tall pile of documents given to me by my friend, Dr. Sidney Cohen, a few years before his death. It is the same material that was available to those who took part in congressional investigations conducted by Senators Rockefeller, Church, Kennedy, and others in the mid and late 1970s. He didn't know, or so he says,
Right.
until he read the documents. The documents were an incomplete subset of memorandum and reports from the MK Ultra program. They do include a description of some subsidiary projects such as Bluebird, Artichoke, and Derby Hat. In January 1963, Gottlieb, at Helm's direction, had already destroyed most of the other documents from the earlier CIA activities. Still, others were withheld or heavily redacted. Those that remain refer to some of the experiments, in quotes, initiated in the 1950s under the direction of Dr. Gottlieb. To me, this is
What a lie.
Ketchum saying, they seem scientifically unsophisticated and often done at the whim of the local agent in charge, end quote. James S. Ketchum implying that his work at Edgewood Arsenal was far more sophisticated.
Does he even bring up MK Ultra there? No, he didn't, right?
That's himself on the back.
Fails to name it on top of that. What a scumbag, dude.
Yeah, he says, I don't know what was going on over there. I know what we were doing at Edgewood Arsenal, and it was important work for the defense of our country during this Cold War period.
But he throws Naomi in there. Does he throw Offen in there too? No? Does he say MK Offen?
Let's find out.
He says Artichoke, Naomi, Bluebird. We get 3 out of the, and Lord knows how many are still, I mean, they're still running them now, classified.
Yeah, he mentions Bluebird, Artichoke, and Derby Hat.
Derby Hat, but no, okay, so he didn't say Naomi, but still. What is Derby Hat? I don't remember even hearing that. I'm going to have to look into that. Not right now. But
isn't that the Canadian one?
Was that the Ewan Cameron?
Yeah, I think, I could be wrong.
I'm looking at Derby Hat. It concluded 10 April 1963.
He's going, okay, so, and he wrote this in 06, correct?
2006 is when it was published.
So he could
self-published.
Right. That's even more. So, okay, so he probably self-published this if we can go back, we probably self-published this because he knew shit was coming down the pipe, you know? So he's like, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to get all of it out there, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense. Like, I got to get this out there. These are declassified, so I can get these out there, right?
Derby Hat was tested in Hawaii.
Oh, Hawaii.
You know, is that where there's a harbor there in Hawaii and they do testing? What a nice secluded place for some LSD experiments.
It's way worse than LSD, man.
Some hula hooping.
Gotta be there's way, because they're
luau,
past the LSD
barbecue
testing, I would guess, at that juncture. Because who knows? I mean, honestly, because they're probably, I don't know, testing what XY. There was something.
Now here's the thing.
YZ.
Intelligence staff officers also agreed to provide, in quotes, Oriental subjects of various nationalities for use in these LSD experiments during Derby Hat on the Hawaiian Islands. So they wanted to know, how does it affect Oriental folks.
Yep.
Well, I always wonder, even during the Obama days, how much they were testing on the immigrants that were all in the cages. I mean, even years ago when because I live on the border and we have border patrol all the time, people picking people up. We've had coyotes come right by the house and like vans spill out with immigrants all over these poor people who are smashed into these cars, and they take them out and they put them in another facility and they keep them for a while. Like, what a perfect test subject.
Yeah, like a holding.
And they're doing that in all the holding pens.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the way the conditions are now, you're close to it. I can't say shit. I only see what they show us on the television. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and I would think, and this is just
Ketchum
Barsky.
claims that too. He plays stupid.
Right.
There's a need to know. There's a need to know basis.
Absolutely, and that's why he's putting all of this out here.
Right. Here's an example. He says, as I think back, there was one occasion in 1962 when I was asked by Edgewood psychologist Ernie Clovis to provide medical coverage as a disinterested observer. Good cop, bad cop.
Right, exactly.
While a candidate for the CIA was brought to my padded ward, there's a padded cell, and he interrogated him he presumes by another CIA agent. He presumes it was another CIA agent. He doesn't know.
I don't even know this. Like, are you kidding me?
He says, I did so, but never received any explanation for the purpose of this interrogation. The unidentified civilians, they were civilians that were brought in
These weren't even
to a padded cell, sat at the desk while the interrogator posed mundane questions, which the candidate, a civilian, although smiling at times, seemed able to answer. Then they disappeared, and that was the end of that.
Put a pause. Hold on, Alan. I got something here. Gordon, going back to the border thing, right? Because this is tripping me out a bit. So they would be. Let's go back. Let's rewind to like 19. We can go back to the 70s, right? 80s. When do you okay, I'm curious because I don't know. I haven't done research into this. But like putting kids in like these cages, whatever. It's Obama built or is responsible, or I'm sure Bush had something to like every administration, with immigration is going to have some gross, shit going on basically, for lack of a better descriptive.
Right.
But I'm curious to know what your take is, what you think being in that area, right?
Like how long they've been kind of penned up?
Or
like, are you talking about just being cages? Or
I'm just curious, like timing wise, like if you notice a difference in like the 80s, the 90s, obviously you're going to notice a difference, I would think, right? Like the amount of traffic, who's being let through, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you're also probably, I don't know how much of they're going to disclose on the news, like on your local news, right? Your affiliates on this information. Because,
I mean, they mention you hear a lot of, in this area, you hear a lot of migrant deaths in the desert because they're coming up through Sinaloa or coming over the San Ritas here. And I mean, that's some rough terrain, man.
Right.
And you hear a lot about that because it happens all the time. But we didn't hear about the kids in cages until
Do we want to see
Obama.
Gordon?
Yeah, when did...
Can you not see me?
No, we can see you.
Okay.
We can see you.
I think you're sharing the article yet.
Yeah, that's fine. We can go back to normal. But yeah, I'm curious, when did the kids in cages thing become a thing? It feels like it was during the Obama or post, actually.
I think I heard about it just before, but there was just like during Obama, there was lots of like human trafficking stories coming through here. More sex trade stories, migrants being abducted from coyote groups. Like they'll come in a group and then kind of they'll abduct the group and kind of pick out the ones they want to traffic and then kind of dump them off or use them as slaves.
Right. When did you, can I ask you, when did you notice, like, maybe in hindsight, or when, like, did you ever notice, like, this is just wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just, where it was, like, almost not egregious necessarily, but, like, was there ever times where you're just like, holy shit, this is so effed up on so many levels that they're just doing this? You know what I mean? Like a moment where it kind of struck you. Did you ever have, I'm curious if you ever had like a moment of like, Jesus, they're really doing this right in front of, you know what I mean, kind of thing? Or did that ever happen or no? To you personally?
Are you talking about human testing?
No, I'm talking about human trafficking sort of thing on the
human
border.
trafficking?
Yeah, because
it's kind of always been here.
Right. So it's just kind of like, how do
it's just
people,
kind of ramped up over the years. It's always been a terrible thing.
And it's a political football.
And it's always been a political football. Yeah.
There's also the issue of self-trafficking. If someone chooses to go into the oldest profession,
right,
self-professing.
But I feel like that would be like, I don't know.
That brings us back to the LSD experiments where they're walking around San Francisco and giving LSD to the prostitutes on the street, telling them to give them to their Johns.
Yeah.
Right.
With the two-way mirrors and all that fun stuff. Yeah, it's just weird. But the thought of that, like using migrants and doing testing like that, like wouldn't you want to test certain, for example, like the beta test that we have going on right now, the mass beta test? It's like, wouldn't they want to try that out on, or would they, I wonder if they're considering it a waste of goods or a waste of
no, they will totally do ABCD testing. Yeah. They're running this Edgewood arsenal at the same time.
No, I'm talking about now. I'm talking about now. Yeah.
Then and now they're going to continue to have multiple people doing the same tests, overlapping repeatedly. Yeah. What are they?
And then they're compartmentalized. Go ahead.
So here, this kind of goes to the thing that you and I were talking about this morning, Barsky, that about, oh God, do I even want to say it? Like each strain of the vaccine is maybe something different.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Oh, there are like on a superficial level because there's different manufacturers.
Right.
So there's just
of
two.
Course, but some of them couldn't.
People are choosing which manufacturer is their preference. If they're throwing Johnson & Johnson, J&J under the bus, then there's AstraZeneca, and maybe that's the better option.
I mean, this is obvious, right? We're not.
Yeah, no, it's obvious. It's obvious.
And we can go to today, and did you see the meme that people are sharing on Instagram from a doctor, a French doctor? And people are very upset about that.
I didn't.
Yes, I did.
Which one
you
is
shared
it?
It with me, Alan.
I could just read it to you.
Yeah.
Because this made a lot of.
Can you share it?
I'll just read it because it's a picture of a text.
Okay.
And it says all VACC-inated people will die within 2 years. Nobel Prize winner Luc Montagnier has confirmed that there is no chance of survival for people who have received any form of the vaccine. In a shocking interview, the world's top virologist stated blankly, there is no hope and no possible treatment for those who have already been vaccinated. They use their fax machine. We must be prepared to shred the papers, the vehicles of consciousness. I'm kind of just jumping around there because
wait a minute. Hold on. Pause. Did where is this doctor now? Is he still alive? Is he available for like interviews? Is he talking?
He's a French physician,
Okay.
and there is a foundation in the USA with the letters RAIR, like Rare
Right.
Foundation. Rise, Align, Ignite, something is what it's called. And they're the ones who first published the translation. And it says from May 25th, posted by Renee Knoll to the Rare website, saying that the jab would kill people in 2 years. Here's what he did say. And there's a video, but the video is in French. So then we have this other foundation translating it to English, because if you don't speak French, you trust that the translation was correct in English.
Yeah. So wait a minute. So when was this posted? Because I feel like I heard this before, right when they rolled certain things out. I feel like I heard this probably like 2 weeks into it. You know what I'm saying? So it was like probably
people are sharing this
mid-January. I feel like I've read this.
Sharing and resharing the same thing, and people are losing their minds over this because it basically implies that if you don't get it, you're going to die. But if you do get it, you're going to die because you didn't get it. So they're basically splitting this camp in two ways and saying, well, you better get it so you don't die. But then if you do get it, you will die.
Clearly we know, well, but it really does.
This is hysteria. This is absolute hysteria.
Or delirium, a form of it is. It's insane.
Yeah, they're inducing insanity.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally,
and literally, that's what they're doing. Yeah, scrubbing
through
sites.
propaganda.
Yeah,
through third-party foundations that have no ties to government organizations, and they're just misquoting anyone they want, and they're not even being specific about it. We have all these questions, and yet people are reading it, taking it at face value because there's an emotional kick into the gut. They feel it in their heart, and they're just so upset that how dare you, as a person on Instagram, post this.
Right.
So I see this, and now I'm upset that I'm going to have to bury my children.
Yeah.
Within the next 2 years.
What's your greatest fear? I mean, I don't know if either of you guys are parents, but that is my greatest fear.
For sure.
So, I mean, I don't know what could possibly be worse than that. But then they're forcing these children to be vaccinated, and then some parent gets converted and realizes, holy shit, what did I just do?
Yeah.
Did I just kill my kid?
Right. And then trying to live with that.
That's like a known, like, you're going to have to make a decision. But then there's the unknown in which you don't know that there might be LSD in your water supply.
Oh, there's also that.
We're not telling you.
It's the same kind of thing. Is like, we were talking about, like, well, basically I remember having this a conversation similar to this, obviously speculating on what could possibly come, what's next, right? Like, and this was early in it last year, probably around this time, thinking, well, this one ain't shit, but the next one that comes, and I think kind of we're all in agreement. We don't really even just say much about it, but like, I feel like the next one that comes is going to be legitimate, or, much more legitimate than whatever this gain of function exercise was. So then there's that. I mean, we also have
to be afraid, be very afraid.
Right.
There's more on the way.
Absolutely.
It's just more to divide and conquer.
Right. Just more confusions. As I guess just maintain like this. I feel
I'm so calling bullshit on almost everything.
All of it. Thank you.
Man. Jesus.
I'm not to the zeteticist level of calling bullshit on it, right? To where everything. So like the zeteticist outlook is like, what I can see, I take to be real. I don't believe anything kind of attitude. I can't take
Right.
that stance
Well,
where
there-
there's a lot of people that do, which is ludicrous. It's like throwing that's baby bathwater nonsense. Like you can't do that. But
there's agnosticism, there's skepticism, there's hesitancy.
yeah, the isms are just flowing. Like they're just coming out with new shit all the time. What's up, Stella?
There's Olympic hesitancy. Maybe we don't want to
Over
have.
transgender shit too. That's
Well,
what it,
in Tokyo, we're
Yeah.
20,
did you hear what they're doing
21.
there?
Well, are they going to have the Olympics or not this year?
Did you hear what they're arguing over though? It's the latest of what it is about
No.
why Japan is forcing. Okay, so apparently in Japan
Mhm.
is insisting that people who are claiming different genders or like want to switch, like claim a different gender than their natural birth, they have to undergo a full psychiatric evaluation before being legally able to change their gender. Now, this is pissing off a shit ton of countries, obviously, or not obviously. I mean, like, who gives a shit? It's their country. They can do what they want to do. They're a sovereign nation, last I checked, but whatever. But yeah, apparently, I don't know, SJWs over here are all freaking out, but who gives a shit? It's Japan. Mind your own. Mind your own. There's enough problems here in this country. Mind your
Right.
own.
And what we're talking about is chemical testing. And what we're seeing is a worldwide, global, it's a concerted effort among all of the countries to introduce new chemicals, testosterone, or
Yeah, different. Well, yeah,
what's
different
the other,
variations.
what
Estrogen.
estrogen, if you're going to increase or decrease those levels, or you're going to transition, and at what age are we allowing people to test those chemicals on themselves? It's a worldwide situation now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a worldwide A/B test.
Yep.
Blind test, beta test. This is all very, very,
This
very
is
new.
all, and yeah, and it look, we brought it up before. I know I brought it up, but it feels like they're definitely taking the temperature of the nation with everything right now, like with censorship and things like that. Like they're letting shit go that I feel like a month ago was not flying on Twitter or anything. And Twitter's the only like social media that I actively kind of use. So, what's up, Stella? What's up, Terry? Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
But do you ever feel like Twitter itself is part of Project
Yeah, it is, and I
Bluebird
know
in
it is
this?
now because get this,
It's very
For
obvious.
sure it is.
Twitter
sure
is now
it is.
Twitter. After hearing about an actual, this has nothing to do with the 2020 presidential election, but an election in Massachusetts for the state Senate, I believe, where while filing legal paperwork to go forward and suing the federal government or the state government of Massachusetts, one of those two, could be conflating, but it was in the documents, it revealed that Twitter was actually acting as a form of the federal, like on behalf of the federal government and the state government of Massachusetts.
Yes.
And it was listed legally in the documentation. Like,
Well,
so
they
it's
have
kind
a
of
they have a
official.
white check mark next to the WHO. Do government organizations have a white check mark? Individuals have a blue check mark.
So wait, now they have white check marks for,
I'm seeing a white check
NGOs?
mark at WHO on Twitter.
I've never seen that. I'll
So
have to check it out.
what we're saying is that Twitter is now an official government communications channel.
An arm,
On a local level, you'll see traffic reports, you will see police reports, you'll see sheriff's offices using Twitter to announce
This is, yeah, it's a valid point. There you go.
official decrees, warrants, that sort of thing. Which brings us back to Marilyn Manson. That's old news, but why are they picking it up and putting it back on Twitter?
I guess we'll find out in a couple days, probably, right? Or maybe a week or two. Who knows? But it was funny, like talking about this shit last night or whatever, early in the morning. Like, well, the next 33 hours are going to be weird.
Yeah.
And let's see.
We're still in it. That's
We're
that.
still in it.
That's that
It's that moon magic, baby.
moon magic. It's a big super moon. It's so big, and there's an eclipse, and people
then
are
solar
losing their
eclipse.
mind. What it's doing is it's bringing out the hysteria. And you're talking about this temperature check.
There you go.
Twitter is the temperature check.
Yep.
In
Absolutely.
real time, they gauge the reactions of people to things on the what's happening
Yeah, to take the
tab.
temperature. Yep.
And they'll display what they want you to see. You will respond to it. And I've had this happen multiple times. I'll see something in the what's happening tab. I'll click on it. I'll refresh it 5 minutes later, and it'll tell me that page never existed. So I can't even
yeah.
track back to it.
That happens all the time. I see that all the time.
It's
on
wild.
Facebook stuff.
You're being
Well,
gaslit by Twitter
sure.
news.
Absolutely.
All
By
of them.
every news, every bit of it. But y'all already know that if you're tuned in. But we have a hard out. We're going to split. It's midnight Central Time, 08. And Gordon, Alan, it's been beautiful.
David Barsky.
Love you,
A
gentlemen.
fantastic evening.
Salute, officer.
Let's do it.
Yes, Officer Dork.
Officer Dork.
Next time we'll get to
At
some
ease.
Metal Gear Solid.
There you go. Snake
and,
Eater.
The humans in cages in part 5. We got Snake Eater. Gordon wants to sing a song for us. We have a whole lot to talk about.
We got, and we got
Just one
crazy.
song.
There's so much
We have
to talk
awesome-
about.
Awesome guests coming too that I'm not going to name. It's going to be fun. This next week is going to be pretty crazy. So keep your notifications on for the channel. And yeah, that's a wrap. We can get out of here. So everybody have
guys.
a beautiful night. We live inside your minds. Don't forget that.
Live inside your mind.
We do. All right. Peace.
Crack spider. Nice web, Mr. Crack Spider.
C, the active ingredient in marijuana.
Nice web,
THC,
Mr. Crack Spider.
the active
Nice
ingredient in
web,
marijuana.
Crack Spider. Nice spider's behavior was. The web structure was not affected, but the spider's behavior was. The spider's behavior was. The web structure was not affected.
It built a hammock. The spider didn't build a web. It built a hammock. The spider didn't build a web. It built a hammock. The spider didn't build a web. It built a hammock.
The spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the
It built
web.
a hammock.
The spider can't go within 100 centimeters of
It
the
built a
web.
hammock. It built a hammock.
Cane spider, the crack cocaine spider, the crack cocaine spider, the cane spider, the crack.
It built a hammock.
The spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the web. The spider built a web, found a mate, and raised over 100 young. But the mate got a restraining order, and now the spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the web. The spider built a web, found a mate, and raised over
It built a hammock. It built.
the captain its ass. Then came up behind it and popped the captain its ass. The crack cocaine spider figured building webs was for suckers. Waited, the captain its ass was exhausted and came up behind it and popped the captain its ass. The captain its ass. Then came up behind it and popped the captain its ass. The captain its ass. Then came up behind it until the captain spider was exhausted. The crack cocaine spider figured building webs. The crack cocaine spider figured building webs was for suckers. The captain said,
Mr. Crack Spider.
marijuana spider
When
had
winter
no place to
came,
live.
the marijuana
It ended up right in the crack. It ended up crack spider's crack. As the crack
When winter
spider
came, the marijuana spider had no place to live. It ended up in the crack web as the crack spider's bitch.